Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
A driver tears through a neighborhood at dangerous speeds, and families in one local suburb want it to stop.
27 years in prison for a crime he did not commit, but now this man is going free.
A possible drunk driver with a child in the car is spotted and tailed by emergency personnel. The only problem is those alert citizens were in a fire truck. Just try and tell a first responder not to help, especially when a child might be in danger.
That's what a dispatcher had to do right after firefighters made a big save at a house and found themselves in position to make another one on the road.
Sean Lay explains why Ladder 25 had to pull back and hope for the best.
The Detroit firefighters from this West Side firehouse had just made a couple of incredible saves of a couple of kids from a burning home from just a few blocks from here. But it's what the firefighters did driving the fire engine back to the station house that is raising eyebrows tonight. Some are saying they did the right thing. Others in their own department are saying they can't do what they were doing.
So I said, oh my God, the smoke is too bad. I come back out.
This man tried to get into his neighbor's burning home, a man in a wheelchair saying his granddaughters were trapped inside.
So then the smoke was too thick for me though, and I was like, oh my God, it's like I can't get upstairs to the little girl.
Detroit Fire got there, got in, and rescued both girls.
Yeah, that was a great save, man.
This happened Tuesday night, and on the way back to their fire station, Ladder 25 radioed to dispatch that they were trying to make another save. They spotted a woman weaving in and out of traffic with a child in her car.
She has a child in the vehicle. Ladder 25 Central, it was reckless driving.
The firefighters suspected the woman was drunk.
Ladder 25, you're reporting a female reckless driving in a white Mazda with a child in the car.
Sources within Detroit Fire say firefighters should not pursue or follow vehicles in a fire engine. Ladder 25 tells dispatch that they were following with the engine's lights on, and dispatch told them to stop.
Ladder 25, you are advised not to do that in the event that you get into an accident. We will give police the information. Okay, she did make contact with stuff on the side of the road. I asked her if she's been drinking, and she did say yes.
Back here live. Interesting case here, because as soon as that last transmission you heard, dispatch said stop following, and the fire engine and those firefighters went right back to their station house, and they followed up to make sure the police were en route to see if they could find that driver. Just got off the phone with the fire commissioner here in Detroit, Eric Jones. He's hot under the collar. He says those firefighters made a great save at the house. They identified another problem on the road involving another child, and he says he supports them and commends them for trying to do the right thing, even if they were in a $500,000 fire engine. Back to you.
Incredible. So, Sean, I'm wondering, did police ever catch up with that woman driving with the child in the car?
That's a good question. Detroit police have been trying to find that run all day long, kind of like a needle in a haystack, all the runs that they get. So they're still trying to pinpoint if a scout car got up there and indeed found that person behind the wheel with the child. So it's still unclear. We'll let you know if they found it. Also want to point out that we contacted the Firefighters Union. They had no comment about this one tonight.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Sean.
4 months after reports of a hazing incident surfaced at De La Salle High School involving the football team, charges are coming. 7 players set to be charged with assault and battery. Warren police say 5 of the players are 18 and they will be charged as adults. 2 who were 16 at the time but are now 17 will be charged as juveniles. This comes a month after it seemed there would be no charges at all. Jason Colthorpe is at the Warren Police Department tonight with more. Jason.
Yeah, we've been watching this play out, Devin, over these months. Just De La Salle stonewalling the police and prosecutors as they tried to move forward with this. We've also seen parents very upset with the lack of transparency from the administration. Today, no different.
Initially, De La Salle really didn't cooperate as they should have as far as the administration.
De La Salle school president John Knight conducted his own investigation last October, but it became clear there would be no cooperation with police.
We received the information maybe 3 or 4 days after they had interviewed most of the football players, so it's somewhat tainted.
Knight's punishment was severe for such a storied football program, canceling the rest of the season.
I mean, he punished everyone, and 99% of them were victims. So I think that was probably, in my opinion, inappropriate.
It's a heartbreaking day. This is a 93-year legacy for De La Salle.
Renee Ragona has a son at De La Salle and another who graduated. She and other parents are furious at the school's lack of transparency.
When you have the police and district attorneys talking about erased tapes and borderline criminal activity from your administration, that's not comforting as a parent. We have an administration who does not have a plan and who hasn't had a plan on carrying us through any difficult times, let alone what our families are going through now.
Ragona's oldest son played football, and she said because of all this, he can't even put that on his resume anymore. It's very upsetting for a lot of parents. By the way, the arrest warrant's signed. They will go out. They're expecting these young men to turn themselves in and possibly be arraigned on Monday. In Warren, Jason Colthorpe, Local 4.
And we'll stay on it. All right, Jason.
A Farmington Hills police officer is facing several charges connected to domestic violence. The victim in this case is a fellow officer. Officer Mario Vekic was arraigned today in Warren's 37th District Court. He's accused of discharging a firearm out of a building, stalking, and domestic assault on his girlfriend. A not guilty plea was entered on his behalf. Farmington Hills police say Vekic has been put on unpaid leave pending further investigation. If you've ever shouted at a speeder in your neighborhood, here's video that might make you angry. A St. Clair Shores woman captured footage of what she says is a driver doing more than 80 miles an hour on her residential street. Larry Spruill is live with the story. And Larry, how often do neighbors say this is happening now?
Well, Kimberly, neighbors tell me multiple times just this week alone, which is pretty simple. I want to explain how easy it is. If you take a look all the way down there, so really you can start at that stop sign, zoom all the way down this street to the other stop sign without stopping. Neighbors here tell me there are a lot of kids in this area and they want the speeding to stop.
All of a sudden, a car started from this end of the street and they hauled by all the way down to the other end.
Natasha Catale was sitting on her porch Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, when she saw and heard this car speeding by her home on Violet Street in St. Clair Shores. She missed the car going by the first time.
And then I seen headlights coming back towards this way, and I thought, there's no way they're coming back. I got my phone up in time enough to be able to catch it right here.
Catale says the car was going so fast you can barely see it in this video.
It's happened a few times this week, and I'm pretty sure it's the same vehicle.
That guy was going fast. He had to be doing at least 110.
John Nitz lives across the street. He also heard the car speed by.
It was amazed that anybody in their right mind would be driving down the street like that.
Meanwhile, neighbors say this must stop.
We have kids around here. I have a 2-year-old son. That's something that shouldn't happen.
And so neighbors tell me they have called police multiple times and they did respond. We're told that police were stationed at both ends of the street in order to stop the speeding. Neighbors are just hoping that that will help. We're live in St. Clair Shores tonight. Larry Spruill, Local 4.
Looks more like drag racing than speeding, Larry, and I certainly understand their frustration with kids living in the neighborhood. We appreciate it.
We're hearing from University of Michigan officials for the first time since news broke of sexual abuse allegations against a former campus doctor. Coco McAvoy live in Ann Arbor this evening with the apology from the university president. Coco.
Yes, the university president condemned the alleged abuse and says they will support anyone who comes forward. In the University of Michigan Board of Regents meeting, an apology from the university president following allegations of sexual misconduct from a now deceased U of M physician.
The allegations are highly disturbing. On behalf of the university, I apologize to anyone who was harmed by Dr. Anderson.
University President Mark Schlissel publicly condemned the alleged actions of Robert E. Anderson. He was a former director of the University Health Service and an athletic team physician until 2003. 5 people have since reported sexual misconduct during his exams.
I condemn all sexual misconduct, especially instances that occur under the purview of our public mission.
The president's comments sparked an outburst from someone in the crowd.
This type of conduct is reprehensible, and whether it takes place now or took place in the past, it is unacceptable.
You knew!
The university is now urging former patients and students to come forward, and the president is promising to fully investigate any claims. And we're told since the news has been announced, 22 people have called the university's hotline to report alleged abuse. We have the number to that hotline on our website, clickondetroit.com. Back to you.
All right, Coco.
Well, after spending more than half his life in prison, a man has been exonerated of double murder in Detroit. Raymond Ward was convicted in 1995 of the murders, which took place in 1994 when he was 18 years old. Well, now, thanks to an investigation by the Conviction Integrity Unit, he's back home with his family. The CIU found that the original investigation 27 years ago had no eyewitnesses and no physical evidence linking Ward to the murders. Its investigation showed conclusively that Ward did not commit the murders, and the motion to have the convictions against him dismissed was vacated and approved. Time now for a check of the national stories you'll see ahead at 6:30 on NBC Nightly News.
Lester Holt has gone west. He's live in Los Angeles tonight with a preview of what's coming up. Lester.
Hey, Kim and Devin ahead for us tonight. The night after, did last night's raucous Democratic debate reset this race? We'll have the latest. Also, the danger in the skies, a pilot temporarily blinded by a laser device, and how police quickly nabbed the suspect.
Talking about that story, Lester, impressive that police already have a suspect in the case.
Well, he happened to target a law enforcement aircraft, and the credit goes to the pilot and the flight officer who used the plane's camera to locate the laser down below. Tonight on Nightly News, we're going to show you the dramatic video from inside the cockpit and on the ground as police moved in and made their arrest.
Okay, we'll see you in a little bit. Lester, thanks so much. Still ahead, how one automaker is trying to make oil changes and other service needs easier and quicker at its dealerships.
And here's Ben.
Devin, so much of February is hard to look at. Tonight is not one of those nights. Gorgeous sunset over Mount Clemens. Temperatures not much to write home about, and it is going to be the coldest night of the week, but much warmer temperatures in the forecast, and we'll check them all out for you next.
To say that Novi High School is crowded would be an understatement, and it's busier than this time last year. I'll talk about this tournament that's so special next on Local 4.